When Ryan's when it's time to begin, it's on the Rewind Around with John Pollock and Wai Ting. The A-Team that makes sense of these things we see in the ring every week on TV. It's Rewind Around for Monday night. Download a Tuesday morning from the Post Wrestling site. It's Rewind Around for Monday night on USA Now on the John and Wai Take the mic.
We are live. It is Rewind to Raw. Another week here at Post Wrestling, kicking off with 3 hours of pro wrestling content from Dallas, Texas. How are you, Wai?
I'm doing all right, John. You know, it never not feels like 3 hours.
Doesn't just breeze by?
It doesn't get that much easier, you know? Like, it's gotten easier than maybe like the first year of these 3 hour shows, but it hasn't gotten that much easier.
Yeah. I know that there is the commercial component to Raw, but you know, all weekend and coming out today, like everyone's focused on the box office performance of the new Scorsese film with Leonardo DiCaprio, and people are just like, 3.5 hours, it's too long, and it's absolutely too long for a movie. But I'm also thinking, like, the grand scheme of things, it's like, man, we do this every week, and it's by choice. This program puts out this amount on a weekly basis, and this is just normal. So
it's
Let's talk about 3 hour Raws. What are your thoughts on 3 hour Raws? Do you think these are sustainable?
It's really strange, yeah, how like the rest of the world, at least maybe I don't know, the movie going audience seems to continue to have this debate of it. Like 3 hours is way too long to do anything. How are you going to ask people to sit down for 3 hours to do one task? Or the TikTok generation? How is anybody going to have that amount of time or that amount of dedication? When you're a wrestling fan, I mean, if you're really a wrestling fan, I mean, it's not just 3 hours even. It's 20, like 15 a week at least, for a lot of people. So we're just a different breed, I guess.
You know what I got to see last week? The a new level of just like people's obsession with their phones. So when we were away on this trip, we were at like this indoor water park, and I see all these people around, and they've got these like plastic seal bags to put their phones in that you can still operate your phone with, and it has an area for speakerphone, because how can you go to a water park without access to your phone? And I'm just watching all these people that are like on their semi-vacation, and they're in the like pool, like typing away on their phone. I'm like, I'm definitely the old man now that are just looking at, and these are people like older than me too that are doing this. I'm like, there is a level where I think you could go without your phone for a half a day.
I mean, I think for
some can, I guess some can't.
Well, for a lot of people, their vacation includes spending time on their phone. Like a lot of people consider I think a lot of people, sometimes myself included, like if you're looking for a break from work, you're on your phone, you're browsing things that you're like Twitter or whatever that you're enjoying. And I guess for some people, they'll pay a lot of money to go on vacation just to be in a pool while they go on their phone as well.
Well, you know what, Wai? Let's get you and me and some friends together. We're going to go to a water park. We're going to pay for admission, and let's go out, hang out on our phones for 2 hours.
I mean, if the conversation is not that great, it might end up being that way. But usually the conversation is pretty good, thankfully.
I went on this. They had these water slides, and one of them I went on. It was like the highest level you could go in. And my wife just told me, she's like, go on this one. It's going to be really cool. So I just go. And I'm climbing up all the stairs to the top, and there's 3 slides and 2 super long lines, and the one in the middle, 2 people, and that's the one I'm going for. I'm like, sweet. And I get to the top, and I think I realize why no one's going on this thing. You get in, and it's like you're basically getting into this tube that you stand up, it closes, and then boom, the bottom falls out, and it's a 20-foot straight fall in a tube. Wow. As water is shooting at you. That's and crazy. Dude, you don't know what's coming. You don't know where you're going. I don't know how long this thing is going to be. It's like 15 seconds, but my God, it was cool as hell, but you just have no idea what you're going through here. Other than I watched ahead of me. Like this kid was ahead of me that went on this. And dude, the person's there and boom, they just shoot down. And it was nuts.
You
A
must have
lot
felt
of
like
fun.
Darby Allin for a second.
It was that level, although I had my shoulders intact. So that was good.
Because, like, obviously, I mean, there are amusement park rides that do a vertical drop, but you're like strapped in. You can kind of see the world. Like, can you at least see anything when you're inside this tube?
Oh no. Like you're
That's
just,
got to freak somebody out.
and it's just like you're in a enclosed tube free
Yeah.
falling, and it's just water at you. Like you can't even open your eyes. Like it's so harsh, the water that's coming at you.
Wow.
But it's like, my God, what is the level we go to for just personal fun?
Did you have your phone though?
My phone was back in my locker, and
Oh.
amazingly, I got through a 20-second ride without texting it. So that was another modern achievement for me. So we are going to be getting into all of tonight's big action for season 2 of or episode 2 of season 32. I don't know, whatever the hell we're at for Raw. Big follow up to the season premiere, but I want to dial things back to Saturday Night Way, because back from the dead are those letters that are hard to kill. TNA. It's back. Frankie Kazarian resurrected the brand from the bottom of a swamp and unlocked Pandora's box, and inside it were those 3 magic letters that contained a press release that read, TNA will launch 2024 with Hard to Kill, Saturday, January 13th. Scott D'Amore. We still hear the TNA chants wherever we go. Fans have longed for TNA wrestling, so that's what we're bringing back in 2024. TNA wrestling, we're back. Company officials confirmed that the new year will launch a new look TNA wrestling that runs from the entrance ramp to turnbuckles in the ring to larger, more prestigious venues. Ouch to the venues we've been running, and much, much more. Further details on TNA wrestling will be revealed on Tuesday, October 24th, when D'Amore sits down for an exclusive interview with Tom Hannafan that will air on Impact's Facebook page starting at noon Eastern time.
Mm-hmm.
As Scott D'Amore said, we're effing back.
Why?
Why are they back?
No, why did you throw in the effing? What do you mean?
Because I'm worried about our YouTube monetization, and that's all.
I mean, okay. I didn't know if
matter?
it was a play on, like, the like get the F out or something. Yeah. I mean, this seemed to be the biggest headline coming out of the show on Saturday now. And
this was, I should say, like, this was met with a ton of positivity. Like, it is amazing the value of nostalgia. Even like a few years ago over a WrestleMania weekend, they did a TNA nostalgia show, and there was definitely some buzz attached to that one too. But this one, like, this is a company that has certainly been able to overcome the stench that was this brand that this company had. And this seemed to be a pretty, like, welcome choice by the company. Do I think it's going to make a big difference? I don't. But for this pay-per-view, will you get some curiosity buys to see what this show looks like, what is different? I don't think it hurts.
I mean, they kind of have my curiosity, as somebody who pays a lot of attention to maybe like public messaging and branding. A name change alone isn't going to do much, but it could be the sort of nice gift wrap, in front of like a larger package of changes, which they seem to be promising with a whole, overhaul of their aesthetics, venues, and who knows really what else. More prestigious venues. Correct. Yeah. So I think it's really interesting, because not often do you hear about brands like reverting back to an old name, especially one that I think has been met with, like kind of mixed reaction over the years, like TNA. But you're right. Like,
I'd say largely negative over the years. It's only switched. I think now that you do have some audience that they grew up with TNA on Spike TV, and maybe some that also did not live through TNA, which had its good, but had way more of its negative than positive.
So I would contend that maybe as much negativity as the TNA brand had, you can argue the Impact brand had even more of it. Certainly pre-D'Amore. I think, a lot of the Hogan era with the change initially to Impact branding still comes to mind. A lot of the, F that owl sort of era still comes to mind attached to this as well. Whereas I think TNA, yeah, you might think about some of the bad, but I think a lot of people still like largely think about the good. They think about the X Division. They think about, Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe, yeah, the Knockouts, or Awesome Kong and Gail Kim. So
you're sort of taking the good and just excommunicating the bad that people associate with a Hogan Bischoff era to a Dixie Carter, etc. And I think trying to polish what is now a very significant tool in wrestling that is nostalgia, and that I don't think you can build a company around. But I would say the positive to this is their biggest issue, I think, is just trying to make any kind of noise that's going to signal attention. The key is when people come and check out your product, are they impressed with what there is? And I do believe this is a very good product. I enjoyed this pay-per-view quite a bit. And if there's a fraction of people that tune in to this pay-per-view or to the television, I think it's overall, it's a pretty good product, and it looks like they're going to be making significant upgrades to their look. But again, I think all of the limitations that TNA Impact, they still exist under, that's not changing. This is not going to upgrade their television position. This is not like some massive star that's coming in, but it's an attempt at publicity. And they need to be trying things because they're at a level, and it's a very, very hard game to get out of this level.
Totally. From all accounts, I'm not a weekly viewer, but I did catch portions of Bound for Glory, and I mean, if they continue to be the home of a match like Speedball versus Will Ospreay, the only thing that's really missing is just getting people's attention to know that they're presenting this sort of match, or even an Alex Shelley versus Josh Alexander. They are delivering, like, I think, satisfying quality for audiences that choose to watch them, but they just need to get the word out at this point. And maybe a name change like this, maybe a change of to more prestigious venues, is the type of shot that they need in order to get some of that extra attention.
What did you see at Bound for Glory?
I did see Ospreay versus Bayley. I saw the main event. I saw the Call Your Shot gauntlet. For some reason, I decided to sit through that.
You felt the need to sit through a half an hour of this.
I like surprises. What can I say?
Well, you got them in Juventud Guerrera and Matt Cardona. Yeah, the big surprise that George Iceman booked a hotel for. I guess it was Hoovy got a nice hotel.
Hey, CM Punk did show up, or was it the tapings that he showed up?
It was the tapings the next day, and that was our next topic here. This was reported by Nick Hausman that on Sunday, Punk was backstage at Cicero Stadium and was around all of the talent and speaking with them. Also worth noting that PW Insider had reported, and that was Ace Steel working both the pay-per-view and tapings on Sunday in a producer capacity. So this is not the first time Punk has been to an Impact show this year. The last time they were at Cicero Stadium earlier this year, he also attended those tapings as well. And I mean, do you view this as something deeper? Not in the sense that this is, some imminent arrival for Punk, but on the side of Punk, is he just going to check out a wrestling show, or do you see this as more strategic, that here is his name that is out there after it had cooled off the last couple of weeks, and now I guess it's him attached to another wrestling product? Do you see this as, do you look into this deeper than a guy just wanting to go check out this show?
I mean, the fact that, we are talking about a CM Punk headline, the fact that I think there's at least speculation now that he could possibly be going to Impact Wrestling, when for me, at least, the chances of that happening prior to maybe this weekend might have been 0. I would at least upgrade that to like maybe a 10%, at this point. The fact that all these things are happening, I can't tell you his motive. I think he will probably just tell you, like, if asked, that he was there to visit his friend Ace and to maybe, visit some other professional wrestling fans because he happens to be a fan of professional wrestling. But the side benefit of all of this is that it's added speculation about a CM Punk, return to professional wrestling. It's added speculation for Impact Wrestling that they may possibly get, wrestling's hottest free agent. So
what's your thought process if you are Anthem and how you approach a CM Punk? Like what would be your reason not to let's remember, it wasn't that many years ago that they tried to make a big pitch for Chris Jericho, and the fact that, Jericho didn't reveal the number, but he said it was a very, impressive offer that he received. And Anthem this is a company that they have resources where they need them. And if you look at this, like, they are investing a lot, I would surmise, based on these production upgrades. You're doing this rebranding, and it could very well be, listen, if we're going to take our shot to get to another level, what level of investment are we looking in, and what would we be willing to commit to one talent? Who is the talent that can get, again, creating that noise that bring people into a product that we feel is very competitive? It just doesn't have that attention. Who can bring us that attention?
Right. Totally. Like I maybe speculated earlier, I think for sure they will make him an offer. The question is, how big is the offer, and how much are they willing to invest into something like a CM Punk being a part? Because I don't think any questions about, like, I don't know, locker room morale apply here. Like, yes, CM Punk might be difficult to work with in an AEW or in a WWE, but Impact needs a name like that. And I don't even think he will be that much issue, because they will give him the keys to the kingdom, okay, creatively, in order to get his name attached to their product. So I don't think there's going to be any sort of that friction that you might find. And if you're Anthem, I think the only question is, how much willing are you willing to invest when you might not see that investment back? What are the added benefits of having CM Punk attached to you in terms of promotion, of just the TNA brand? And what's his asking price versus, what you're spending on the entire operation?
Yeah. And it's like, where is he at? Is he comfortable putting wrestling to the side at this moment? And if you're looking at where AEW is a closed door, and WWE, for all we know, could be a closed door as well. Although the way history has dictated that, a no today could very well be a maybe tomorrow, and a let's meet in a month. That's just how these things evolve, based on business, based on changes, based on injuries. He's a card that a major player could utilize. But if you're someone that's looking at, listen, I'm turning 45 next week, and I feel I've got a year or so of matches in me. I don't want to leave off this sour note that was this last year in terms of my reputation, which maybe he cares about, maybe he does not care about. Like, here is a chance for me to come into a company and make a real difference. Is he going to make a real difference in WWE? He's not. He's going to come in, and that represents a great financial opportunity and an ability to still end on a strong note on the biggest platform. But this is about as close to like a DIY project that I could see him attaching himself to, that he could make a meaningful difference to, as his, at least
he will make a meaningful difference to it. Yeah,
I think he would. I think absolutely he would.
What is a meaningful difference when it comes to Impact Wrestling? Especially like if they stay on an Access. I mean, maybe he'll sell a few Access subscriptions. Like, I think he'll definitely sell pay-per-views. If that's what your measure of a difference is. But I
like if you want to run bigger venues, and like the places they run, I'm not advocating they should be necessarily running bigger ones, but the atmosphere is a killer on a lot of these shows. It was better on Saturday. They had a very healthy crowd. But like this is a guy that could get you to, if you want to run a 5,000 seat building, this is someone that can generate that. I don't know if their current, like I think of what they're drawing now. I think 5,000. That's really ambitious for TNA.
And it's also, having one big name attached to your product is a launching pad for your other talents that are on the show for you to build around. So, I mean, the benefits are very obvious for Anthem and for Impact. Can they give him something that is appealing enough, considering maybe the decrease in platform?
Give him a percentage of Invicta FC.
I wonder if they're going to get creative with something like that.
Listen, they have a lot of combat sports properties at their disposal. Like that you can definitely get very creative. Like, from the time this was out there, I never discounted Impact as like this wild, like this left field potential destination, and still I'd categorize it as low, but definitely not something I would shut the door on if I was either side looking at this. Ring of Honor, they are doing something that we have actually spoken about many times over the past 2 years. They are going to take Final Battle on Friday, December 15th, and it will air exclusively for Honor Club members. So those that are subscribing to Honor Club will get the pay-per-view with their subscription and no upcost for the pay-per-view. So previously, their pay-per-views had been airing outside of Honor Club for $39.95. And looking at last year's Final Battle, they did about 25,000 buys. So that does give you like a sense of like what their pay-per-view numbers, what the ballpark is for this one. I don't know what the long-term play is with Honor Club, but this is definitely an indication of them wanting to get a shot in the arm for Honor Club. And I think this rewards your most like diehard fans that have been subscribing to this service, that here is a bone we are throwing you with a Final Battle.
Right. Yeah. I mean, beyond that, of course, it's the biggest thing they can do to encourage new signups to hopefully create other long-term fans of Ring of Honor and Honor Club in specific. I think it's a great move, honestly. Yeah, like first of all, like, would you have expected them to do a similar amount of buys for this Final Battle as last year's, more or less?
It's hard because we don't know what the card is, and this one could potentially be a much bigger show based on who the champions are now. That I would think, I would think that you could clear 25,000 buys. I didn't look up what they did the last time in this past July, but I mean, this is kind of in the range of what they've been in, like 25 to 45 during this Tony Khan era.
Right. So if they could do the 25,000 buys, I mean, you may potentially be looking at 25,000. You would hope even more subscriptions that might stick around for longer than just a month, maybe 2 months. In either case, I think the entry point, what is it, $10?
Yes.
Yeah, the entry point to a Ring of Honor show, I think at $10 is far more appealing and far more attractive, than trying to sell people this essentially like B brand, for the same price that you've been selling your AEW pay-per-views. It'll encourage a lot more people to sample it and potentially stick around, month to month. So I like it a lot. It seems to be, to me, like one of the reasons why for a long time people were subscribing to the WWE Network. I mean, outside of the pay-per-views, which I think are probably the biggest draw, but having NXT week to week and then even having NXT the takeovers.
It wasn't the tape libraries. Like and that's what Honor Club can't rely on either. And let's remember, like 25,000 buys, I would imagine anyone spending $10 a month on Honor Club are probably buying that pay-per-view. So you have to take that into account, that there was probably a lot of overlap between existing subscribers and that 25,000 number. But I think the other key is, people will sign up for this. They'll get it. They'll have access to Honor Club for a month. What are you going to do to keep them? Because I don't think the weekly television is enough, or I think it'd be very small that people are finally going to sign up and now they're going to become regular weekly viewers. And I don't know what that hook is to keep people, but that should be the hope here, is that you want to keep these subscribers.
Sure. It's hard to say like whether or not it'll be small. I mean, having an MJF featured maybe week to week, that might be enough for a lot of people. Some people might just be too lazy to cancel, in between ROH pay-per-views, and might just decide to keep it for the 3 months that, they would have paid for a singular pay-per-view anyway. And I'm sure they're thinking about all of this when it comes to this move.
Ratings from Friday: SmackDown did 2,253,000 viewers, 0.59 in the demo, slightly down from the previous week. This was going up against the ending of the Texas Rangers Houston Astros game and all of the Diamondbacks Phillies. So SmackDown beat everything else in sports except for Major League Baseball. The peak was the segment from 9 to 9:15 Eastern for the backstage involvement with Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis, and the Rey Mysterio Logan Paul segment, that coming courtesy of WrestleNomics. So obviously Adam Pearce, the big draw.
You know what? Maybe he should win the tag team championships on his own so he can go back and forth.
Imagine a Logan Paul audience coming in and, they're here for Logan Paul, but they stick around for this Adam Pearce, Nick Aldis program.
Maybe a lot of Logan Paul and NWA crossover from, years back.
Rampage This was an interesting number because this featured Mystico and Rocky Romero, and it was very clear that Mystico did move a lot of tickets after he was announced for this show. And Brandon Thurston did a great breakdown of this with Jesse Collins on WrestleNomics on Sunday that you can listen to. But the peak was the first quarter for Mystico and Rocky Romero. Unfortunately, it was not anything spectacular. Typically, the first quarter is the most watched, but this was a show that overall did 342,000 viewers, down 8%, and a 0.11 in the demo that was down 23%. And Mystico might have moved tickets. He did not bring in women. In 18 to 49, women fell 49% from last week. In 18 to 34, women fell 78% from the previous week to 10,000 on average. So, women decided, you know what? We're all watching Bound for Glory tomorrow night. We got SmackDown in. We're gonna take a pass on Rampage this week. So listen to this, okay? 18 to 49, women fell 49%. How much do you think men fell by in 18 to 49 from last week?
I'm gonna say less than that. 15.
0. They were even from the previous week. It was just wild.
Wow. Interesting.
No, man, we gotta see Mystico. So anyway,
so I mean, it's not like they really made a big deal out of this on their TV at all, you know. So outside of like the local area, are people that are CMLL viewers already, or people who know maybe about the status of the Mystico. I don't think they made any real effort to make this feel like it was a big TV match. Although they did air a package like for what, like a 60 seconds.
It was enough that it, like, in at least in the area, like it definitely moved tickets. And that to me is even more impressive than had this, you know, spiked the number by 20% or something like that. I guess, you know, certainly this is a more involved relationship between AEW and CMLL, and that comes with its own interesting outcome here when you're trying to work with AAA and the politics that get involved there, and whether there is some blow up at some point that you have a powder keg that's forming. NXT on Tuesday night, it is night one of Halloween Havoc that will see Becky Lynch against Lyra Valkyria that they promoted very heavily on Raw. Tony D'Angelo and Channing Lorenzo will take on Andre Chase and Duke Hudson for the tag titles. A lights out match between Gigi Dolan and Blair Davenport. Do you think they're going to replicate Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley in this lights out match? And will this go against their record?
I don't know if they have records in NXT.
Roxanne Perez and Kiana James in a Devil's Playground match. Braun Breaker takes on Mr. Stone. Lola Vice against Carmen Petrovich in the semifinal of the women's breakout tournament, as well as Ariana Grace against Kalani Jordan in the other semifinal. The NXT television debut of Lexis King, the former Brian Pillman Jr., and they got some bad news today because Arizona beat the Phillies. So that forces a 7th game Tuesday night head-to-head with NXT. Although NXT has proven in the past that they have a very resilient fan base. And these Halloween Havoc shows in past years have done very well. So the name has meant something in the past. And I would think that this feels like the show that should do the larger audience as opposed to Halloween night next week, unless none of their fans are celebrating Halloween there. We got to find out who wins between Carmelo and Ilya.
Hard to say, hard to predict with this particular audience and the demographics that they might shine with. But it looks like a good looking show, man. I think it's you know, all of WWE
a lot of matches,
and that includes NXT as well.
And the final thing is Dynamite in Philadelphia that is up to WrestleTix reporting almost 4,700 tickets out. So they're definitely within striking distance of hitting 5,000 for this show that they have loaded up over the last couple of nights. So added to this card is Bryan Danielson and Claudio Castagnoli against Orange Cassidy and his best bud, Kazuchika Okada. That's going to be doing the Fighting Spirit Unleashed show this weekend. So coming into town early. So you will get Okada and Danielson in the ring for the first time since Forbidden Door.
And it remains to be seen if there'll be any sort of tease about what a Wrestle Kingdom program might be between the two, or maybe Orange
Honor
Cassidy.
Club.
Yeah, sure, could be that too.
RVD and Hook will take on Alex Reynolds and John Silver. That's a match. The Hung Bucks defending the 6-man tag titles against the Hardys and Brother Zay. Hikaru Shida against Ruby Soho for the women's title. And opening up the show will be Juice Robinson and MJF for the Dynamite Diamond Ring. That has pretty much promised you a violent bloodbath that will kick things off.
That's opening the show?
Yeah, they've said that's going to open the show.
Okay, because if it's opening the show, do you still expect the same level of blood and gore in this promised violence.
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right.
But that is not in the main event position, nor is Renee interviewing Chris Jericho, because really the main event, what everyone is tuning into, I am hoping that there is a giant box that descends from the rafters. Tony Khan's gift for Sting.
Maybe the biggest mystery of them all.
Cufflinks?
Does he even have cuffs? Sting? I don't know.
Bat? A bronzed bat.
I'm feeling more of a plaque. Maybe a nice hat. I don't know.
Maybe he's bought the master tape rights to Starrcade 97 and he's going to redo the finish for Sting.
I don't think he could afford that.
No, probably not.
No.
Okay, well, that's that really is the main event of Wednesday, the gift for Sting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Wai, we're in the gift-giving mood as well, because we have a big auction that we are taking part in with our good friend, Robert Pearson. And do let us know, because our listeners will be very curious about this, of how they can participate and earn some cool prizes courtesy of Post Wrestling.
And why would you let Sting be the only person, receiving something of value this season? Because yes, John, our friend Robert Pearson's Real Digital Media is holding its second annual Monster Media Mash, raising funds for the Doe Fund. For over 30 years, the Doe Fund has led the charge against homelessness and recidivism by providing economic opportunity, housing, career training, and supportive services to homeless and formerly incarcerated men. This year, Real Digital has set up a number of auctions for fans of combat sports, including signed championship titles and custom illustrations from the likes of AEW champion MJF, Bobby Lashley, Daniel Cormier, MVP, Ariel Helwani, and even from Post Wrestling. And what are we providing for this auction, John? Your own edition of Rewind Away, where John and I will review a wrestling or MMA event of your choice. You get to come on the show to talk about your pick. Robert Pearson will even design a custom illustration depicting the event you have chosen, and a post merch bundle, including exclusive t-shirt designs that you could see here for our video audience. What do you think, John, of your tee?
I'm very impressed with this. I didn't see this until earlier today. I'm pretty impressed by this. I don't think I could wear this in all. I probably
could wear it. You could rock it. I will rock it. This is John Pollock logo in the style of the Tim Hortons logo. I have one in the design of Lego. So Robert Pearson, clearly a man who knows both of our passions, John and I. So those exclusive t-shirt designs will be yours, including your own edition of Rewind Away, your chance to come on the show to talk about your pick, and the custom illustration depicting the event you've chosen. This is, of course, a perk that we usually reserve for our highest tiered patrons in our Patreon, and it's typically a year plus wait, but we are giving the chance for the auction winner to jump the line early with their selection, along with a giant stack of bonus merchandise. So for more information or to submit your bid, go to CharityBuzz.com/MMM2. That's CharityBuzz.com/MMM2. The auction opens today and closes on Tuesday, November the 7th. Again, visit CharityBuzz.com/MMM2 for more info and to check out the other auction items.
Yes. So there you go. Make sure we outbid Daniel Cormier's prize pack. Okay, so go out there. It's a very great fund that Robert is raising funds for, and his team at Real Digital. So we're happy to support them and throw in a cool prize pack for whoever is the winning bidder. So we will kindly remind you about this over the next couple of weeks. But let us move on to our schedule. Coming up this week, Tuesday night, Braden and Davey will be live right after Halloween Havoc Night 1. And I believe
actually they're up on Wednesday afternoon.
This week they're live.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry, I got confused because next week is Halloween and they actually have live. So
this is the problem when WWE does 2 weeks of Halloween. Okay,
yes, thank you.
They will be live Tuesday night at about 10:15 p.m. Eastern time. So check out Up Next with their review of Night 1 of Halloween Havoc on Wednesday. A very fun show that we're looking forward to with Pollock and Thurston, as our guest will be Alan Forel from the Pro Wrestling Torch site, someone that I'm sure many of our listeners are familiar with. He will be on as we preview this year's ballot for the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame, which I have a lot of work to do tomorrow. I gotta sit down and really go through this ballot. So we will be working out our ballots and going through many of the key candidates on Wednesday show. That's live at 3 Eastern, and then back for Rewinded Dynamite on Wednesday night. And a final thing we'll plug is Ask Away, the mailbag show. It's back on Thursday, and you still have time to get your questions in. We already have some great ones this month, but you can submit them on the thread at forum.postwrestling.com. Or if you want us to hear your wonderful voice, you can send in an audio question at memo.fm/postwrestling. What do you like about my my monthly search for a male related photo, Way? Because I can't create a logo like yourself, and thus I borrow from Canada Post.
I think it's awesome. I think it's hilarious.
This is the image that I know Terry and Dory Funk always wanted to be pictured right next to.
Yeah, what a collage here. We have Becky and Lyra Valkyria, the Funks, and a Canada Post mailbox. I mean, three of my favorite things.
That's it. And the Funks will be part of the long and winding Royal Road this weekend when WH welcomes Braden Harrington to review the August 31st, 1983 final match. Terry Funk's retirement in 1983. It's been decades since the man last wrestled. The late Terry Funk teaming with his brother. And this, of course, immortalized with the Forever promo at the end, which I actually watched the other day. Just when I saw they were reviewing this, I've actually got into this thing where I've been lately watching wrestling matches, but with the sound off.
Really?
I find it kind of interesting to watch. It's a totally different way of watching wrestling with no sound on.
What's the reason that you decided to do this?
I find it's a different way to watch it. I really only did this with 2 matches, but
will you be trying the opposite and listening to a match and not watching and seeing what that's like?
No, that I will not be doing.
Interesting.
Though I will. I did listen with the sound on tonight for Raw, so you don't have to worry about that.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay.
Okay. On that note, the full schedule, postwrestling.com, 4 shows up at postwrestlingcafe.com coming up this weekend, and a lot of great coverage over the weekend of Bound for Glory, Wai Ting and Kate slogging through 3 hours of AEW. Dude, I watched those shows. There was like some good wrestling there, but that was a big commitment of time to watch.
I mean, we couldn't let you and Cino have all the fun talking about a pay-per-view. So we had to go pay-per-view length as well with Battle of the Belts. Not that, I mean, Willow Statlander was a great match. Other than that, it was not an extra hour that I felt was really needed.
And the return of Phil, our Terry Funk, joining Eric Marcotte to review UFC 294, which was an insane show that featured, 3 fighters that revealed afterwards that they fought with staph infection, which is not good. You had one fighter who was kicked so hard in the balls that he was throwing up and had to go for like an ultrasound. And when he was down in the cage, the ringside physician comes in and informs this fighter, no, you didn't get hit in the balls. You're okay. He's like, yeah, my dick. This guy was just in so much pain. He's like throwing up backstage, and this physician is telling him, no, it didn't hit you there. You're okay. I mean, this was just a comedy of errors on this show as they went to Abu Dhabi. But Phil and Eric have a full rundown of that pay-per-view. Let's get into Raw from the American Airlines Center in Dallas. WrestleTix reporting this morning, 11,726 tickets out. And out to start the show, Finn Balor and Damian Priest, your new tag team champions. And they had promoted a celebration for the Judgment Day. This was our celebration. They came out and were immediately cut off by Cody Rhodes. No celebration. Cody refers to Rhea Ripley as the leader of the Judgment Day, trying to get under the champion's skin. Says, she's your mommy too. And she's cutting all the deals, including one with the Bloodline. So he brings up how Priest low blowed him last week, and that's not going to be the final shot in this battle. And Priest brings up, yeah, and I also power bombed you through a table. Priest brings up Cody's story and says, it looks like your story is that you failed. And Cody, he wants to fight. But not now, says Damian Priest. Instead, let's have a match at Crown Jewel. And Cody accepts just like that. Says, what about now? And Ripley and Dominik proceed to come out. It looks like it's 4-on-1 against Cody. When Jey comes out attacking Dominik, Cody fights off Priest and then gets run into the desk when JD McDonough chop blocks Cody, and it sets up a spot where Cody Cody's ankle is put against the steps with a chair wrapped around it, and they waffle the ankle with the chair, and Cody's ankle is smashed into a million pieces that he would have to recuperate over the next 2.5 hours.
Well, we know how Cody does with casts, so I mean, it's only going to give him, a bionic foot to work with, and it'll make him even stronger. But I think it's interesting. I thought this was a good segment. Cody sounded very good here as basically your lead babyface. They are putting a lot more emphasis lately on the story, so really kind of like beginning the tease for Cody versus Roman, either at WrestleMania or wherever else the story may end. And I like Priest versus Cody. I think it's a pay-per-view caliber match, and they started it off pretty strong here with this attack angle afterwards.
Alpha Academy and the New Day had a match with Maxine and Akira Tozawa in the corner of Alpha Academy, and it looks like Tozawa has been adopted by Alpha Academy. He's now part of the act.
There was like a .com exclusive skit that they put out, making it official. Once you get the T-shirt, it's official.
Well, they had a very good tag match here as New Day continue to feel like they just have a different gear that they've gone to over this last period since Kofi's come back. Gable ducks the Trouble in Paradise. He goes to the floor. Otis then shoulder tackles Woods. And after the commercial break, Woods is in, and Gable comes off his shoulders into a slam, but catches the honor roll. Pair of Germans. We see a Steinerizer onto Woods. Kingston's in for the save. And then Otis tears off his shirt, hits the Caterpillar. Woods then attempts a reverse Caterpillar, which looks kind of tricky to pull off.
Kind of looks easier than an actual Caterpillar, don't you think? I mean, I can't do either, so I shouldn't
backwards motion would be a little trickier, but he caterpillars his way right into an ankle lock. And right there, Kurt was probably just fuming that he never thought of this with Scotty.
Yes, quite the WrestleMania match those two could have had. Yeah.
I doubt he was watching this, but that's countered into a roll up. There's a Trouble in Paradise on Otis, and then Kingston with the Tope Con Hero, and Gable is hit by the dive, and Woods pins Otis after a flying elbow in 10 minutes and 18 seconds.
I thought a very good match. Woods stood out to me in this one, but I thought all four men looked very good. I agree with you that I think like the New Day have been very good in ring. I feel like they always have. I'm still looking for that wrinkle in their story, in their characters, for me to get excited about a 15th or 16th tag title chase.
The important ones.
It feels like they're, the default team that you have challenging or even holding your tag team titles. And they've really done nothing to make me feel like this is going to be a different story that they're going to be telling. So a fine TV match. They're always reliable for something like this, but I'm not that excited for what's to follow.
Yeah, it's also at a time when this is the strongest they've been booking this tag division in years and years and years. That
because it stayed away from the tag division.
Well, that's kind of it. It's that you look at, like, they had the Alpha Academy, New Day, and then DIY, and I'd include DIY in this. And I can't buy any of these teams being threats to hold these now more prestigious titles that have been kind of in the property of Judgment Day, Owens and Zayn, and Rhodes and Jey Uso. And it just feels like this is almost a secondary division within a division.
Yeah.
Jackie Redmond interviews Becky and mentions that she has matches on back-to-back nights and how Indi never lost her title, but she never got a chance. And there, the Paul Levesque favorite, what's happening in the background is a looming Xia Li, who we would see later. She just stared in the back, placing a curse on Becky.
That's how you get your title shot.
It was really hard to see her. I had to pause this. It was like, is this Nikki Cross? Is this Xia Li? Really out of focus. Then we had a vignette for Ivar, just Ivar with Valhalla. He has the wisdom of Odin and the power of Thor. I'm like, what the hell am I writing here? Now it's time for him to lead. He is the one true warrior, which brought me back to like One Warrior Nation. But I don't know. Not a sign that Eric is coming back anytime soon.
I mean, I'm guessing the injury is maybe worse than any of us might have expected because I mean, Ivar has been doing really well as a singles act with the moonsault, and why sit him out while the tag team partner is not available? They're making an effort, it seems, at least with production, and you would assume with the push as well after this for Ivar as a single star.
The wisdom of Odin and the power of Thor,
Right?
and maybe the conniving nature of Loki.
Maybe, which you can listen to a review of right now in the Post Wrestling Cafe with WH Park and their man Neil Flanagan. My favorite odd couple pairing in professional wrestling.
Maybe Ivar needs a partner.
Okay, who are you suggesting?
Absence of Eric. I mean, Loki.
Oh, okay, sure. Oh, Ivar.
Could you have the wisdom and the power? But I think you need someone that can get down to business, dude. It would make my Mondays if we had him just doing a promo every week. I'd be over the moon. Like you'd hear zero complaints of him. Seth Rollins is wandering backstage. This is a very like nothing show for Seth Rollins. Like he never appeared in front of the crowd. Maybe he did like a dark segment, but is wandering backstage, runs into Rhea Ripley, who brings up the history between the sides. And Rhea explains that was all out of respect. And they are concerned for Seth when he takes on Drew. And maybe you need the Judgment Day as an insurance policy. Rollins sees through this as a plot to try and have Damian cash in on him. And Ripley says, right now, you're just a champion. You could be the champion if you joined us. And maybe Priest cashes in on someone else. But without us, you're never going to have a run like Roman Reigns with your fragile back. And we could have your back and make people acknowledge you. And Rollins says, I want to be nothing like Roman Reigns. And Ripley acknowledges, you never said no. And that is the lingering cliffhanger. Did he mean to say yes or no? And also, he is not the main champion. I guess that's what you can also take from this.
Listen, I mean, yeah, maybe you never want to say that out loud, but it's also a fact that I think every wrestling fan, every WWE viewer has already internalized. It is impossible at this point to, get even close to what Roman Reigns has established with this like 3-year plus reign. And I think just to be even based on the statistic, like they have even a kayfabe reason to suggest something like this. And as a form of like politicking for this, very sort of like smart and manipulative Rhea Ripley, I think it's a wonderful insecurity to play into that you would expect, somebody like a Seth Rollins might have. He's a champion, but he's not the champion of the company. And with that injured back of his, he will have a very tough time reaching Roman Reigns, very long reign. So I thought it was a nice little bit of politicking here.
Natalya comes up to Candice LeRae and Indi Hartwell and wishes Indi well tonight in her big match and mentions Tegan Nox is not here tonight because she was hurt in NXT last week. She had the match with Lyra Valkyria, wasn't on the show, and is here if Indi needs any advice tonight. And they say thank you, but they never hit her up for any advice.
Man, these Natalya like skits are so tough to read, and I don't know if they're supposed to be. Like she comes in and it's like she feels so insincere when she comes in and is just like, hey guys, I just want to wish you good luck. It's such an unnecessary conversation, and like the way she does it, it feels like she's being so fake. So I constantly like am wondering if they're trying to tease a heel turn here or if it's just bad acting. Because nothing about the booking, of Natalya after this suggests that it's actually a heel turn that they're going with. So I mean, I don't know. It could be very good acting or very bad acting.
I think it's just like they could have done this all in a week's time and it wouldn't have meant anything. And instead, the way they are just prolonging this, it's almost making it painful. I think it'll have more impact that you are kind of doubting whether this is just all false by Natalya. So I can't say I've not been a fan of this. That I think it's a better way. If you're going to do something like this, I would rather you draw it out so people actually have a reaction to it and care.
You're on the side of great acting then. Here.
I'm on the side of I feel that this is transparent in her actions that will be revealed at a better time as they plant the seeds here. That these rookies here are not taking her veteran advice here, like Indi, and look what happened to her. Lyra Valkyria was brought into Dallas, so she was shown in the front row. Got a great seat off of StubHub at the last minute. Front row.
That's the way, or maybe tickpick.com.
I hope she wasn't a victim of like that dynamic pricing. She probably could have paid an arm and a leg for this ticket. Becky Lynch and Indi Hartwell for the NXT title. Candice LeRae watching in the back, and the manhandle slam gets avoided, so Indi boots her. At one point, Becky has the triangle, but Indi power bombs her way out, and then there's a spine buster. Becky finally is able to maneuver to the disarmer after multiple attempts, with Indi avoiding, and with the disarmer on, Indi is trying to fight it, but finally taps out in 9 minutes and 16 seconds. They shake hands, and then Becky walks up to Lyra Valkyria and says, "What? Come get some."
Yes. I thought it was like ended up being a pretty decent match. I thought Indi was very capable, but I have to say, like, in these sort of like WWE Raw showcases that Becky Lynch is having with, you know, these sort of underexposed members of the women's roster, I think these should be almost like treated as like tryout matches, and they not only have to look capable, but like they really have to impress, so that the audience might, and the office backstage will demand to see more of this person. And I don't know if this was that caliber of performance from Indi. Like, this felt like, okay, it's another match, and coming out of it, I wasn't necessarily clamoring to see more.
Yeah, I think with Indi Hartwell, it was, man, she's had the worst luck of someone that, like, I didn't like her acting was like very good in NXT with the Dexter Lumis stuff that got over at like in a campy way. And like the wrestling was never the strongest part, but she was definitely, by the end of it, like this audience was into her. And then she gets the injury while she's called up. And and you had like the creative issues here on the main roster.
But I mean, you can argue she was the hottest she's ever been when she had to drop the title. Like, it made for a perfect story for her comeback, didn't it?
It was, yeah, it was great the way they had set it up. Like, she was at this peak, but then it just kind of subsided.
They never capitalized
for all these months.
Yeah.
And this was sort of the payoff was, okay, I'm going for my title. And this was it. I don't know. I think it's been an odd fit for her on the main roster between the injury and I think just being like so much of like this Candice, Indi Hartwell, Dexter Lumis stuff. It all just kind of got shelved.
Johnny too. I mean,
Johnny too.
Where's Dexter right now?
At the Miz's house. I don't know.
He's waiting,
staring,
stalking
in the window. Candice is very disappointed in the back and then gets run over by Xia Li, who says that's a message for Indi too. And next week we will get Xia Li and Candice LeRae. Adam Pearce is warning security. We have a mega contract signing tonight with all 5 women for Crown Jewel, and Nick Aldis appears, and he is here to apologize. He says, "We got off on the wrong foot on Friday. It was my mistake. It was a rookie error. I was just trying to establish my authority, and I just want to go back to having healthy competition and not tarnish our professional relationship." And Adam Pearce calls it water under the bridge and offers to have Nick Aldis stick around for the night and watch how the flagship is run.
Yeah, really.
I thought these two were very good tonight on the show. Like, my criticism Friday was that we went from just introducing Aldis and boom, we're getting into these GMs hate each other. And tonight, like, you had this segment where we're kind of dialing it back, but by the end of the night, you clearly see this tension that they are building. I thought it came out better here tonight than I felt on SmackDown.
I think Aldis has been doing really well as sort of like a harder edge version of Pierce, and therefore somebody that, you know, would get on like Pierce's nerves. You know, I think they're doing a good job of building up. As much as I hate like interbrand rivalry and GM rivalry, I do agree that these two have decent chemistry together.
And you're also, well, we'll get into it, but you're also like introducing the idea of like Aldis like poaching people as well. And I think doing like, you know, these contracts that are up, and you're planting seeds with like the Miz complaining about his treatment. There was a flat out tampering angle later on in the show with Katana Chance and Caden Carter. So Pierce, after that, we have Rhea walk in, and she said, we go to the ring where Pierce is surrounded by security and brings out the women for the Crown Jewel women's title match. Ripley coming out last, and Rhea says she can beat all of them individually, but this is a conspiracy. She's being set up, and she will make Adam Pearce's life hell. And the crowd cheers this. They are so behind Rhea Ripley going against the authoritative figure, and says that you're going to be the loser because you're going to have 4 fewer women in this division after Crown Jewel. And Nia Jax takes the microphone and she is booed loudly. And she says how Rhea wants me to squash all of these women for you. And she goes one by one. This was a painful promo, but she was getting booed. And it comes down to a big brawl involving everyone. And it's Nia and Raquel who square off alone, and they have to fight off security. And then Jax lands a Samoan drop as Rhea just watches from the floor.
Right. I mean, pretty standard contract signing type of segment, right? You know, just to kind of put emphasis on whichever particular rivalry we're supposed to pay attention to. And here it's very clearly Nia and Rhea, with the other 3 really just kind of feeling like supporting players here. Rhea is the biggest babyface in the division, Becky Lynch aside. You know, she comes out here and she just gets the biggest cheers. The only really, like I would say identifiable one, you know, at least with the audience compared to everybody else outside of Becky Lynch again. So,
and I don't think that's by accident either. I don't think this is something where they're actively wanting to, like, she's still presented as a heel, but I don't think they're fighting this, because I think that's ultimately the role for Rhea, is to be this, you know, like their Roman Reigns babyface of the women's division.
Yeah. And I think part of the reason of bringing Nia Jax back is to, you know, make a more hateable, like bigger villain to, you know, pair Rhea up against. But it's just interesting to see like Rhea navigate sort of being a part of a heel stable, but when she's in these, you know, women's segments, basically being the lead babyface.
Kaiser is with Vinci, no Gunther on the show, and Kaiser says, you need to deliver tonight and take out Johnny Gargano because your performance reflects on me. And Bronson Reed walks in. He wants another match with Gunther. Kaiser says, go tell Gunther yourself. And then Tozawa wants a match with Reed. He gets turned down, so Tozawa chops him, and Reed says, well, it's your funeral. And Maxine is very concerned about this, and Coach Gable will not be happy.
Yeah.
Big match coming up in hour 3. Johnny Gargano and Giovanni Vinci. 2 minutes and 43 seconds, including a 30-second movie trailer that it was the opposite of what I was, what we were talking about. I got no video, but I got the audio of this.
Well, so I guess for international viewers, they didn't go to picture-in-picture to show the actual trailer. So we only heard the trailer, which made it super awkward. And I don't think there's a better way to tell your audience that this match is not important than to air a movie trailer in the middle of it.
Though Giovanni Vinci in a horror movie would probably be a lot of fun. I'm
sure he'd be great. Yeah.
So anyway, Gargano
Gunther in a horror movie.
Yeah, that could be too. Yeah. There's probably
imagine being chased down like through a cabin by
Gunther. Randomly like chopping people to death.
That's it. Yeah.
Chops their heads off. Gargano stops a powerbomb, lands a super kick. Kaiser gets on the apron when the returning Tommaso Ciampa yanks him down, and this leads to one final beat, 2:43. Gargano and Ciampa celebrate like they've won the Super Bowl, and Vinci is looking very concerned that he lost this nothing TV match and was fodder for a movie trailer.
Right. I got to say, there wasn't that much reaction here for Ciampa's return and what is essentially DIY's like second in-arena appearance together since this
his music is the opposite of what a theme song should do. Like, I think it actively brings down a crowd. It's so just
Gargano's, you mean?
Yes, Gargano's music.
Yeah. Man, it's one of those where like I wonder if at some point once he actually is in a bigger match, maybe they'll actually go back to using the other one just to get that pop. But for now, I mean, this is a team that still is basically building from the bottom right now because I don't think audiences tonight really felt much for them. And I think a lot of this program with Imperium has been really focused on Vinci and Kaiser and what losing means to Gunther rather than on DIY itself.
Then I was very happy to see this. Post-title program, Shinsuke Nakamura has retained the subtitles, and we get a video, and he states that a beating from Nakamura is a beautiful thing, and he is so happy that he got to give Ricochet this experience. But now he wants to find an opponent who will inspire the yet-to-be-seen self within me. Release the expression, still trapped in my dreams, who is worthy enough to set me free.
Mm.
I mean, if I was like 16 years old, I would definitely go to this guy's concert.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
Yo, Shinsuke's playing. Shin.
Good promo, very charismatically delivered by Nakamura as always, and very like dramatically like worded translations, right? I mean, I don't speak Japanese, so I don't know if like how direct these translations were, but like man, like there are a lot of ways you can go with translations, I'm sure, when you're, changing to something from a foreign language to English. But whoever wrote these made this sound probably even better than what actually came out of his mouth.
Yeah. Good video, and they'll pair him with somebody. Logan Paul comes out and refers, this was the best, to the fool that he beat last week. He was so bad that he was dropped by his fight league. This is my favorite program going on right now. The aftermath of Logan Paul and the man whose name will not be said, but Paul is going to just roast on national television because Bellator did in fact release Dylan Dennis from his contract over the weekend. He has not fought there in 4 years. And Bellator is, their state is very much in flux, but this was true. And I just love that he's continually cutting promos, but he will not say this man's name. And his fiance is legit suing him as well.
Yeah, right. For a number of reasons. I mean, I can understand why, but I also don't really understand why he keeps bringing him up. I understand the first time, you're making your appearance after your big fight to casually mention him, but like to continue to revisit it just kind of makes it look like he's a little bit obsessed.
Well, maybe
Dennis has a future opportunity to get his revenge on Logan Paul inside a WWE ring.
Well, there is that photo when Dennis went to a show, and he did post a photo with Rey Mysterio. So maybe who knows?
Oh.
Who knows?
If there can only if you want to turn Logan Paul babyface, okay, bring in Dylan Dennis, okay, because that's the one man the world will boo ahead of Logan Paul.
It's a pretty good bet. So Logan then turns things on to his WWE pro, and as he's running down Dennis, he's just having fun with the what chance. Like he has figured out the what chance to his advantage. He tells the haters to go run to their keyboards. He'll give them something to talk about when he beats Rey for the title, and maybe he'll come back to Raw and defend this belt. Dominik comes out, and here is the marriage of two.
Dream team.
Oh man, this is to me what like Grayson Waller and Austin Theory want to aspire to be. Like these two are just terrific together. Logan immediately starts clapping for this guy. The crowd is booing so loudly. You could not hear Dominik here. And he calls Logan a future champion. And Logan says how Dominik grew up with a deadbeat dad, and he still became a champion of an entire continent. And then Logan focuses his attention on his favorite ring announcer, Samantha Irvin, and convinces her to come into the ring where he wants her to give a preview of Logan being announced as the new champion. And Samantha Irvin is not going to do this. And then Ricochet charges the ring, attacking both, and Logan is able to save Dominik from a shooting star press. Fun segment here for the fact that you had no Rey on this show. There wasn't like a grand purpose to have Logan Paul here other than for him to appear. And I thought this turned into a really entertaining segment.
Well, Rey respects the rules of the draft.
Yeah, more than his boss does.
That is correct. Yeah, I mean, Logan Paul appearances adds a lot of star power to a particular show, and they effectively built to the Rey Mysterio match without having Rey around. You would expect Dominik, I guess, to be in Logan's corner, maybe, and maybe Ricochet to be in Rey's corner. As a role for the both of them. So I thought they built up to that Ricochet run-in really well through the use of Samantha Irvin, and man, Logan Paul, I thought was really good here, and the pairing of him and Dominik, not only is it great for just to watch, I think it's really good for Dominik Mysterio. Not that he needs that much more publicity, but in a mainstream level, maybe he does. You're even pushing Dominik to a different maybe status by having him attached to Logan.
He could play Dylan Dennis.
Sure, yeah.
Like there's a
I guess
there's a similarity there
a little bit.
It's what they could do as a cool spot at Crown Jewel is you have Samantha Irvin as the ring announcer, and either she has to refer to Logan Paul as the new champion, or she gets to announce Rey as the winner and your loser, Logan Paul. And it's like Samantha Irvin gets like the last word in at the end of this.
That'd be nice.
Chelsea Green and Piper Niven against Natalya and Nikki Cross, the thriving women's tag division. Nikki Cross walks out. She's just in a trance for this entire match.
She is Linda McMahon circa WrestleMania 17.
Yes, she is. She got the double dosage from Trish Stratus. Cole says she's normally screwbally and flaky, but this is a different level. And then Michael Cole said something about Lou Albano doing this once at the Garden on Raw in 1998. I was like, the hell are you talking about?
98? Did he have a wrestling match in 1998?
No.
Maybe he means 88.
Well, he wasn't around in 88, so I don't know how Cole would even know this.
Was he around at any of the eights?
No.
78? I don't know.
Anyway.
Hey, you're talking about Michael Cole, okay? Historian who's watched a whole lot of professional wrestling in his time. Who are you to doubt him?
So Natalya is left alone. Nikki just takes off, circa 1998, Lou Albano. And Natalya avoids the Unprettier, goes for the sharpshooter, but Niven has been tagged in. So from behind, Green hits the Unprettier, running crossbody, and Niven pins Natalya in 3 minutes and 13 seconds. No Tegan Knox, no Indi Hartwell. So here's Natalya trying to give all these good vibes backstage, and there's no one. She gets Nikki Cross paired as her partner for whatever reason and walks out on her.
So I guess maybe this could facilitate the Natalya heel turn, I suppose. I think booking a match like this is not only a terrible waste of a segment, I think it sends a terrible message to your audience that this is a division that you should continue to not take seriously. The division not only needs stories, it not only needs like strong characters, it also needs substance in the form of good wrestling matches. And it's already hard enough when you've got like a Chelsea Green, Piper Niven pair as their top champions. It's even worse when you book these sort of stupid gimmick matches like this that completely fall flat in front of this audience and just really reaffirms, the bathroom break status of these tag title matches.
Jey Uso and Drew McIntyre met backstage, and Drew sarcastically feels bad about the bloodline costing you the tag titles last week. That must suck. And he says, without Jey, this match with Sami Zayn doesn't happen. So whatever happens to Sami Zayn is on you, which was really confusing to try and piece together Jay's culpability for what was going to happen.
Well, it makes total sense. What do you mean? Because Jey was the reason that for the trade, right? The trade happened because of Jey, which sent Kevin Owens to SmackDown, and which got Sami Zayn pissed off and arguing with Drew. So
no, what got him upset was Drew stating, "You're not world championship material." They were actually on the same page and fine until Drew said this, and Sami Zayn issued the challenge. How can Jey stop this match from happening?
Well, they weren't on the same page according to Drew, because it was Sami making up with Jey so early that pissed Drew off. So it was Jay's fault. Okay. Well, if I was Jey, I would sleep fine at night over this match happening. I just love Drew continuing to just be like shit talker, like sarcastically telling him, just get over it. I got great advice for you. This Drew has just been so much fun.
The Miz complains to Adam Pearce about a lack of television time and says that Nick Aldis knows all of his accomplishments. So Rhea Ripley walks in, totally taking away the attention from Miz, signs her contract for the 5-way, and then the camera follows Rhea as she walks away, and Miz, where's the camera going? And Ripley checks in on Dominik, who is going to need ice from the attack by Ricochet. Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre fight for the death, blood on the hands of Jey Uso match. Zayn is thrown towards the barricade, moonsaults off. We go through a break. Drew keeps catching him, including a pescado, and tosses him over the announcer's desk. And then Zayn comes back with a tope con hero, a sunset bomb after Drew tried the white noise off the turnbuckle. Drew stops a blue thunder bomb, executing the Glasgow Kiss. And then as he goes for the Claymore, he's hit with the blue thunder bomb. Crowd was getting into the covers here by Zayn. And then Drew sets up for the Claymore when Rhea Ripley's music plays, and Sami capitalizes, hits an exploder, tries for the haluva kick, but Rhea distracts Zayn and leads to the Claymore, and Drew taking advantage of the distraction and wins in 14 minutes and 55 seconds. Damn you, Jey Uso.
So Drew took advantage, but without necessarily
He didn't ask for this help, but he was not going to let it deter from his game plan.
Wasn't complaining about it. Yeah, I thought it was a very good match. Great chemistry between these two. And I love seeing Drew work as a big, monster heel, essentially, as against Sami Zayn in his best role as sort of like the undersized babyface. The two of them were really great together, and I thought it was a good finish, despite maybe the distraction. It was the type of distraction that continued the tease of Drew's Judgment Day alliance. And great detail about Drew right now that I like is that he came out, he was still like high-fiving fans, but it was such a lackadaisical high-fiving. He didn't even make eye contact. He's just extending his hand to clap, just because of, like, I don't know, some contractual requirement of him as a baby face, essentially. So it's like he's obligated to do it, and I think it's perfect for his current character.
And as of this show, there's no role for Sami Zayn on the Crown Jewel show. And he ended up being promoted as like the biggest deal on that last show, where they took him all over and they made a huge deal about Sami Zayn being in Saudi Arabia. But as of now, like, unless they have him as some kind of involvement in the title match, like, there doesn't seem to be a fit for him on this show. Aldis is chatting up Katana Chance and Caden Carter and notes their blue outfits they're wearing. And Pierce comes over and tells them all about contract tampering. And I didn't invite you here to chat with my superstars. And Aldis says, you know what? I'm going to make this easy for you. I'm going to take off. It's the third hour. A lot less people are watching anyway. And Adam Pierce says, you know what, Nick? That's a great idea. So we are left here with this tension that continues to build between these two. But I thought both played their roles very well tonight, and I kind of like the way they are going about this instead of just the usual GM versus GM type of setup.
I guess so. Well, what is the usual GM versus GM type of setup?
I mean, it's so much more. I mean, they're trying to be a little more subtle here. That this
is not subtle.
Is it not subtle for you? Well,
I'm just not a huge fan of, like, brand versus brand type of stuff. But you're right. Like, I guess this is feeling a little bit more organic than years past.
I mean, the bottom's going to fall out if all of a sudden Katana Chance and Caden Carter pop up, walk out on the tag division, which are not even specific to this show. Like, why?
Do they have a 90-day? No compete?
And they have to leave. They have to become, Katana Opportunity. And Nikki Cross also walks by in a trance. Pierce just looks, says, I need a drink. As did we all. Bronson Reed and Akira Tozawa.
Very long show.
Dude, Tozawa did not look good in this, man. Like, his strikes looked really weak. It was like, I don't know, maybe this is just the gimmick that, like, I don't know. I just thought this should have been Miro and Action Andretti, a shorter version of it. It was the furthest thing from it. Tozawa got a bit of offense in. Maxine looked horrified. And then Reed finally hit a DVD senton tsunami, 2.5 minutes.
I guess I'm not even so sure, like, having a good match is what Tozawa's role is anymore. Like, he's
you can at least have like an entertaining 2.5 squash. This was not even that for me.
But for the longest time, he's been sort of like the clown of WWE, right? Now that R-Truth isn't here, he's the comic relief, and he's having, these sort of like, slapsticky type of matches where he does some really funny facial expressions. They're over exaggerated, and beyond that, I don't think there's that much demand for him to, like, look competitive.
Well, I just thought, like, the offense looked so off, and just like not like Akira Tozawa, even in like a comedic form. But this was short. We cut to the back. Otis has a Dallas Cowboys replica belt. This was subtle. And he's with Alpha Academy. Tozawa's selling the loss. And then Gargano and Ciampa walk in. So they're all talking about, the tag division. And they hand the Cowboys belt to Tozawa
to do his dance, or like whatever the hip thing that he was doing. So I guess
I'd be furious if I was the Miz and this got more TV time than me.
I'd be furious if I was DIY. I mean, last thing you'd want is to be like, this is the mid card of the mid card, I would say, and you drew that distinction between, like, the actual serious tag teams in the WWE and all the rest. I mean, this is a picture of the rest, and it's not that pretty.
You could Photoshop the 24/7 title over top the Dallas Cowboys logo, and that's what this segment was.
100%, yes.
McIntyre and Rollins are in the back, and McIntyre's like, what are you doing tonight? You're just like hanging out. And he jokes that Seth jokes that Drew is now part of the Judgment Day. And Drew points out how you were speaking to Rhea tonight too. Rollins says, I don't need the Judgment Day to beat you. And they both agree not to involve the Judgment Day in their match, which guarantees they will be involved. And may the best man win.
So I guess the suggestion is one of these two is lying. And who will the Judgment Day help at Crown Jewel?
Yes. Who will we judge on that day? Next week, 4 matches announced for Raw. Seth Rollins against JD McDonough, Candice LeRae against Xia Li, DIY against Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci, and Dominik Mysterio takes on Ricochet.
Mm-hmm.
In our main event, Damian Priest, Jey Uso. This was I don't know. I did not get into this one.
Me neither.
Yeah.
No, and the crowd, I don't think the crowd did either.
No, they were tired, and I can't say that this work was all that inspiring. Like, this just felt like through the motions, and I don't know, like
they were chanting, "We want tables" for like a regular match.
Yeah. I don't know, with Jey, like, he has not like blown me away in a lot of these big singles opportunities that he's had, whether it be Raw main events, you know, famously
or the Roman match,
the Roman Reigns match at SummerSlam. Like, this guy, like in the tag scenario, like they had a great tag match last week. But man, you take like Cody and Balor out of this equation, and this was a big drop off for me over last week's match and what you typically get. Yeah,
I agree.
Really low energy crowd. The Priest was signaling for the South of Heaven, but Uso stopped with elbows. Priest catched him off a dive and hit a flatliner onto the desk, another in the ring, and then Jey gets off from the Razor's Edge, lands the spear and the Uso splash when Balor runs down for our latest run-in distraction, and Jey hits a suicide dive to Finn. Finn then grabs his leg, crotches Jey, which sets up South of Heaven, and Priest wins in 12-17. Afterward, Balor's attacking, hits the coup de grace, and they get a pair of chairs when one-legged Cody Rhodes hops down the aisle and stops Finn, stops Damian Priest, chop blocks Priest, and attacks with the chair. And then he puts the chair around Priest's ankle, but Balor saves Damian from a shattered ankle. And to go off, they really pushed hard. SmackDown airing on FS1 this Friday. So you certainly can't knock WWE when it comes to promoting these things. They hit you over the head.
They're the best at it. Yeah.
And that was Raw. I just thought like a really lackluster match here. And I thought overall a pretty for the show, like last week was a very, very strong episode of Raw. I've got to say this one, I thought that Drew and Zayn had a very good match. I like the New Day Alpha Academy match. Match wise, though, this was certainly several notches below what they had last week.
Yeah. So, you know, I think my opinion might be very different if the main event came across better, like in previous weeks where we had, you know, really hot like tag team main event. Crowd certainly felt tired for this one. I felt tired for this one. People really like Jey Uso. That's not a doubt at all. But I think he's yet to find that magic in these sort of singles match settings. And the tag team with Cody was like a good 2-week break for him to, you know, first of all, benefit from, I think, Cody's, you know, star power as a main eventer babyface with this audience. It also allowed him to continue to work as a tag team. So, you know, this is what the man built his entire career off of. And so he continued to have really great matches. But in a singles capacity, he's yet to find the thing that I think makes him feel like a complete wrestler. His moveset and in-ring style, I think, could use a bit of a freshening up. I hate the thing he's been doing where like he takes his shirt off.
Oh, it was so weird tonight. Like
waits forever to wrap it around his opponent's head before delivering that uppercut. I mean, it's just, it looks ridiculous to me. And it's not the type of like, I don't know, spot that's endearing. No. It could also just be the crowd being this tired this late into the show, but they have to do some retooling. The character is over, but the in-ring leaves something to be desired.
Raw, episode 2 of the season.
Thumbs in middle show, you know, nothing really like offensive, I would say, but oh man, not a lot of like great.
Yeah, like the only news we got coming out of the show, you got Priest and Cody for the pay-per-view, and well, what's coming up on Raw next week? Like, not a whole lot of, I would say, stakes added to this show.
Crown Jewel is already set. This is now just about like getting the word out. I thought like the Drew McIntyre stuff continues to be my favorite thing on the show. So I thought that was good.
All right, let's go to the forum. If you want to send in your super chats, you're welcome to do so, but we're going to read what you thought about tonight's Raw.
Let's start off with the super chat here from Andy. Thank you again for the support, Andy. He says, there have been many hints towards the Rollins-Reigns program. I can't see Cody beating Reigns until we get to this match. How did you guys read it?
I think it's something that they're keeping there as this I think even just at its base level, you should have this rivalry among the two champions. And with the history here, it's like something that you can certainly go back to. I guess it's just the timing of how you're going to slot in all of these matches. I mean, you have to remember that Reigns still has like, we don't even know what his status is for Survivor Series. You could do that at Survivor Series if you want to do the champion versus champion gimmick. And then you've got the Rumble, you've got the February pay-per-view, and you've got 2 nights of Mania. And when you're looking at the list of who you've got there beyond Cody, like Rollins would be one of them. So it's certainly one that you could go to, and it would require minimal build for, because they've sort of set the table for it.
Survivor Series traditionally has sort of been the destination, right, for your champion versus champion match. And I mean, there's every reason in the world to do it, simply because it's, you can promote champion versus champion. They have the history between the Shield, so it makes sense. I also, though, wonder if you should do it because you're battling this sort of notion that
why beat Roman after all this time, and why have or conversely your A champion pin your B champion and just solidify it for your audience?
Or beyond that, give the audience a dissatisfying finish for what is likely to be the main event. So all of those outcomes are not attractive to me unless they can find a way to build to another story coming off of the result that somehow protects everybody. But it's not necessarily a match I'd personally look forward to.
All right, let's go to the forum here. And Muggin writes, I can't be the only one who thinks something's up here. Priest being a tag champion again is just a distraction from cashing in the briefcase to keep himself out of Drew's way, and it's working. Rhea's undermining him, and I bet it's a matter of time until he realizes it. Sami and Drew tore it up. Logan Paul and Dominik had enough heat to melt ice, and Becky Lynch and Indi was a solid match. Sidebar, Cody Rhodes made a cameo in Captain Laserhawk on Netflix.
I believe Kenny Omega is on this too. They both have roles on the show, so I don't even know what it's about. But will you be watching Captain Laserhawk, John?
Maybe I've already watched it. Where's the sound neck tattoo?
With the sound on or off?
Off.
Neck tattoo's right there, man.
Is it there?
Yeah, faint.
That doesn't look like an American flag to me.
Well, maybe they have copyright issues.
Okay.
Cody didn't sign off on it, his IP. And that's it. No more feedback.
Right. Thank you, Muggin, as always. Okay. Again, you can get your questions in for the Ask Away mailbag show, forum.postwrestling.com or memo.fm/postwrestling to send an audio question. It's free of charge to send an audio question, and we'll be answering all of the questions in the mailbag Thursday at postwrestlingcafe.com. We have 4 bonus shows coming up this week. In addition, Rewind to SmackDown, Collision Course, and on Sunday, we are going to have MCU later as WH and the returning Rich Fan will go through episode 4 of Loki. And also this weekend, a free edition of the Fighting Spirit Unleashed review. Fighting Spirit Unleashed, is that what the show's called? Yes.
Yeah.
Bruce Lord and Karen Peterson, a free New Japan review from the 2 of them. That will be up on Sunday, the day after the show from Las Vegas. So you can look forward to that. That's it for us. Wai, you have a great night, a tremendous night, and enjoy Halloween Havoc night 1 of 2.
Well, thank you, John.
30 years ago today, Joe Carter.
Greatest moment of my life. I mean, outside of, I guess, my child being born and getting married, the 3rd greatest moment of my life.
Either you call that the greatest sports moment in history, or you're wrong.
Goodbye.